Namaste and good evening to one and all. Welcome to Leaders Connect 360-degree LC0180. Leaders Connect 360 is CSR initiative by Bija Training and organized by the Mars Leadership. My name is Dr. Vasanthi Jason, organizational behavior expert, and currently I'm associated with the TML Lead online certification program, which is conducted by the Mars Leadership. Leaders Connect 360 is started with a specific objective of inviting 1,000 plus leaders and create 1,000,000 leaders. It is an online hub where every Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. we learn from top management leaders on Zoom Live, and once in a quarter in each city, we have an online networking meet to network, support, and grow with the leaders. That's when we call Leaders Create More Leaders. Currently, all are muted, and we will be giving you an opportunity to speak to our guest, Mr. Sam Zegenbal, CHRO, ILLUMINE I, and panel discussion leader, Ms. Uma, Human Resources Leader, on the topic, Developing Leadership Pipelines. Before you are unmuted, let me share that this episode, LC0180, is being recorded. First-time visitors may click on WhatsApp, Facebook, and LinkedIn on the chat box to get updated by joining us in creating more leaders. All in-house people are requested to turn on your videos, which will help in making the episode highly interactive. So, are we all ready to interact with our guest and panel discussion leader? Please put a thumbs up or a smiley emoji in the chat box. Thank you. I shall welcome you all. So, are we ready to meet the guest and our panel discussion leader? Over to Ms. Uma.
Thank you, Ms. Dr. Vasanthi, for this wonderful Curtain Risers show. And it was a great pleasure to have Mr. Sam as our guest for our LC 0180 episode. And he is not only a CHRO, as a person of people management, and to me, he's like a person who can you always look like as a mentor. Like it was very down to earth and much more to say. So let's welcome our chief guest of the day, Mr. Sam, with a welcome video. Over to you, Arul.
Welcome all.
Thank you, Arul, for this wonderful introduction. I hope everyone knew now, how Sam has evolved over the period of years, and his credentials and his capacities as a CHRO as well as a human. How good he is! The description much had a elaborate content. So let's quickly have a intro about Mr. Sam. Sam, I would like to know, how do you pronounce your company name? That's my, no, it's not in the list of questions, but still, I just want to know because it's a little different from the usual. I just want to hear it from you.
No issues, Uma. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Vasanti. Thank you, Arul. And thank you, Uma, for quite an elaborate introduction there. I don't think I've introduced myself so much to my in-laws as this introduction kind of went. But yeah, it's Uma, to answer your question, the company name is called ILLUMINE Industries, but for short, we like to call ourselves ILLUMINE. It stems from our CEO is a huge fan of Stark Industries from Iron Man, so we decided to name it ILLUMINE Industries. And yeah, we kind of have as much of a quirky background to the naming of our company itself, but that is how you pronounce it. It's ILLUMINE Industries, but it's ILLUMINE.
ILLUMINE. Yeah, it's
Yes.
great. It's great to know the content and as well as the background story of the title for the company. Actually, today's topic is something very interesting, like developing leadership pipelines. When you say, many times organizations struggle when the leaders move. Leaders is not essentially to be the top management. Even a manager who was supposed to be a good leader is even a leader, because when he goes, the people lose interest working there and they also seek elsewhere, or they always tend to move with the leader. Sometimes, the leader has the capacity to attract people who worked under them. All these also contribute, kind of brain drain or a kind of attrition to the company as well. So let's get back to the title, developing leadership pipelines. How can early identification of high potential employees improve succession planning?
Sure. So, but first, I just want to kind of quickly touch upon what you mentioned from leaders or everyone. It's not, I mean, not necessarily only at a senior leadership perspective. I like to think of very differently from what is commonly known, where people say that leaders are born and not made. I kind of really go against that. I think leadership qualities, it stems from a lot from our experiences, and each experience as you grow in your career, in your professional and personal life, adds to those qualities, right? One of the reasons why we as Indians respect our elders so much is because of the experience that they carry, right? And they, every single day, brings about a learning. And if you've got those right qualities to be able to absorb it, I think that builds leadership. I just wanted to quickly just really agree with you, Uma, from that standpoint, that it is not just people with titles who actually are defined as leaders. Anyone can be termed as leaders as long as they're willing to be able to think about others and bring others along with the journey, rather than be very self-centered or self-focused. Now, to move on to the question that you asked, you mentioned, how can identifying high potential employees very early on support us in our succession planning, right? Think of it this way: far too often, I think we are very focused, we end up being very reactive rather than proactive, right? In my career, for myself as well as many other of my colleagues, leaders, I have noticed one thing: someone who is performing in the role that they're performing tends to be automatically assumed that they should be promoted and moved into a leadership role. Sometimes that backfires so so badly because they're not necessarily that they possess the right competencies to kind of move into that role, but two, it is the fact that we are setting them up for failure if we are not training them. That's a very reactive measure that I'm really sad to say, but far too often, too many organizations, whether they're a startup or a well-established organization, they end up being very reactive in identifying high potential employees. And even if they're very good at identifying the high potential employees, they don't end up training them for the next role. They get on to the next role, and then we just, kind of cross our fingers and hope that they will adapt to the new role and be successful. If we really want to be, if we really identify high potential employees early on and we're proactive and we develop leaders, we're just going to face a tremendous amount of success when they do end up taking on a new leadership role. So I think for me, that's probably the biggest advantage in identifying a high potential employee early on, so that instead of being reactive, we can be very proactive in developing leaders.
Yeah, I do agree with your point, Mr. Sam. The first point is it's itself is a very mind-blowing one. Leaders are not born, but they are made. Because everyone out of their own personal experience, they keep evolving. Nobody is the same ever after 5 or 10 years. People change according to the situations, and they learn so much from the experiences, and that made them a good person, being a leader, and empathetic, more empathetic than we often see. Many old leaders are very empathetic rather than young leaders, who are very fierce and who want target oriented, the business kind of leaders which I'm speaking about. So the more they are aging, over a period of experience, they learn a lot, and they are more empathetic, and they take up real-time decisions. That's what I could say. And proactive is more important in any kind of thing that is well explained from your answer. So next challenge is again into what are the key challenges in building a strong leadership pipeline?
Challenges, leadership. We all have day jobs that are going on. What is the biggest challenge that anyone will tell for any aspect of job that you have? It's time, right? Everyone, 24 hours all of a sudden is not enough to do everything that we need to be doing. I think when you're trying to build a very strong leadership team, probably the biggest challenge that I have faced when I'm trying to develop, as a CHRO, when I have my L&D team trying to develop strong leaders, we create a lot of training programs. What ends up happening, and I'm hopefully some of you will understand my emotion when I say that, as we really get a chance to develop trainings and put it out there, and then the participation rate is so low. And the reason for the participation is we need to focus on BAU, or business as usual, right? We don't want to let the particular organization suffer. We don't want to let our job suffer. So we put a challenge, as in we put this option of going for a leadership training on the back burner, and we end up kind of putting more focus on what needs to be done that's right in front of us. That tends to be a huge challenge that many people face consistently across. People who are put through leadership trainings are usually the people that are performing, people that are dependent, that the organization is dependent on, people who are the manager is dependent on. And when a particular problem arises within the organization or within the process, we need to go to that person. That person cannot be freed up to really develop their respective aspects. Time as probably the most precious resource that each individual has. How much are we able to achieve in what little time we have, right? And then when we add on to it by saying that we want you to think about your future by developing a leadership qualities, So we would love to do that, but you need to be available and take some time out. That suddenly starts to become a constraint. And that's consistent. I've seen it in every organization that I've been in. Every time we've tried to do it, it's a constant problem that keeps creeping up. I would love to just say that there is an absolute answer for how to go about resolving, but I think it's just persistency in people wanting to develop and a self-drive in the people who want to develop themselves as leadership. But time is probably the biggest challenge that you're going to face when you're trying to develop leaders.
Exactly, Mr. Sam, because the time constraint is the one which differentiates between performer and a non-performer. How much time a person takes to complete a given job, that differentiates him from a performer and a non-performer. And absolutely go with their answer, like saying that time constraint, because they have to dedicate a kind of time which is required for developing themselves, focus on, having a growth mindset and focusing on what is the next agenda for them, like what is the next step of their career, everything, instead of, toiling between whatever is there in the current situation. So time constraint is the one of the major challenges which you have mentioned, and it is pretty much what to say. It's pretty much eye-opening for everyone who wish to develop such a kind of leadership strategy for everyone.
Uma, I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are the benefits of customized leadership programs for different career levels?
What are the benefits that we can have for
benefits
developing
of
leaders?
Customized leadership programs for different career levels.
Many of you would have heard this very, very famous saying, which is one size does not fit all. I think that clearly, explains, the answer to this question of customized leadership programs, right? Take a step back and think about each of your companies. Think about every company that you've been in, right? I hate to say it, but almost we have, as Indians, we have been brought up in such an environment, whether it's schooling, whether it is college, whether it is our jobs. It is pretty much a chosen subject, chosen set of topics that is delivered. And we're hoping that in the gamut of under leadership, we hope that that will be something that, is able to reverberate to each individual and they're able to pick that up. While almost some topics will be, very common, but I think customizing a leadership program will be able to really help you target skilled development, right? A particular leadership program that I have running for engineers within my company to develop them in a leadership program might not be the same that is there for a manufacturing company who wants to develop leaders. Might not be able to. Now, there are common topics, definitely tough decision-making skills, time management, emotional intelligence. These are all very common. But we do that and we leave it with that. But a targeted leadership program with each individual at the precipice of the thought process behind how we want to develop a leader will take it to a very different level. Now, that's where, the L&D team really, really has to be very specific in understanding how their program is devised to clearly be able to cater to each individual within that classroom, right? Just to take a step back, a couple of years back, I took a career break and I was teaching as a high school teacher for a program called Social and Environmental Experience. Majority of the kids just wanted to focus on marks, right? And they were not in it for the learning. Hey, don't get me wrong. I think even we in our jobs sometimes are only focused on our ratings, saying, yes, my learnings, my leadership development, all of that can take a back step. Tell me what's my rating. Tell me what's my hike. Tell me when my promotion is coming, right? But leaders aren't born that way. When I had to cater to those individual students, it was such a unique challenge that I faced. One of the ways that I really took time to understand and be able to deliver was give the freedom for each individual to be able to take on within the gamut of that particular topic, give each individual a freedom and space to be able to take on what they want to do. Now, as a teacher, I had an option. No, that's not within the syllabus. So I cannot, you cannot roll with that particular topic. Or I could say, hey, you know what? It's not necessarily exactly within that scope, but have the freedom, explore it. I ended up realizing that each individual came to me. It meant a hell of a lot more work for me as a teacher, and it probably means a lot more for each of you when you're developing these leaders to be able to cater to each person very differently. But that's where impact is made. Even if you can make an impact to 10% of the leaders that are given your way, trust me, the impact is far greater that one leader will have on the rest of the people that they will impact, compared to genuinely having a livestock of leaders just training in things that they may not take away. So targeted skill development is probably the benefit that you will have from customizing your leadership programs.
Yeah, I had a wonderful takeaway today. I can say that not one size fits all. And my second takeaway is that preparing the mindset for challenges is the main thing towards any kind of leadership development. You can't say that this problem comes, you have to give this solution. Preparing like how to handle the situation and how best you can perform in a given situation, preparing them for the right situation is the best and the customized kind of thing. As you said, like engineering kind of employees needs a different kind of skill set to be trained, whereas people in civil or any kind of technical work, they need a different kind of skill sets. So leadership problems also arises based on work which needs that specific skills and knowledge of a leader. So it's a wonderful takeaway from me, and it's great. So let's quickly get into our next question. How can cross-functional leadership be developed effectively?
Okay. First, let me start by saying cross-functional leadership is very, very important. You go to any of the, leaders. Let's take one of my, all-time favorites, and someone that's been in my heart recently is Ratan Tata, right? Let's look at that man as a leader. Okay. Now, what did he start with? And look at his portfolio today. What a legacy he has left behind. You want to look at every aspect of the industry. That man has stepped foot in it and established himself. So first and foremost, let me just say that cross-functional leadership is able to help each person develop. A long while back, not a long while, I think a couple of months ago, I posted something on my LinkedIn page where constantly people ask me a question. Is it more important to be a king of one trade or a jack of all trades? Right? Now, both of them have their advantages, but genuinely speaking, someone who has been able to have a experience in each area, and if you are leadership quality, trust me, you will be able to, whatever role you take on, whatever position you get yourself into, you will be able to go depth. You will be able to learn the dearth of that business, right? And when you have a dearth of several verticals, it makes you so much stronger. So one, making sure that, cross-functional leadership is very, very important, right? A lot of you who are here may be asking, hey, if I'm good at, and if I only want to focus on how I become a recruiter, why should I learn other aspects of HR? Or why should I learn other aspects of leadership roles? Every time you sit at the table of senior leadership, or any leadership table for that matter, having a knowledge about what is happening in other areas, other functional areas, just gives you a huge step up and a huge advantage when you're able to have conversations on that. So cross-functional, very important. But how will you go about doing it, I think was the question that you had asked.
Yeah. Exactly.
One of the things is I have found sometimes training programs in general, and forgive me, I have huge respect for teachers, having been one, college professors, all of that. But sometimes, just a training session is not sufficient. I find that probably the area where you genuinely have the most amount of growth and the most amount of knowledge is when you do projects, right? And when you want to look at developing cross-functional leadership, what you want to do is identify a collaborative project which is touching upon cross-functional areas and be able to delegate that or be able to give that as an opportunity for your budding leaders to take it on, because then they will face how is it that they need to be able to go and talk to the IT team? How is it that they'll be able to go and talk to a customer? What is the need of the customer? How is it, when you're going to be able to go and talk to an HR team member when you need them to be able to comply with the legal regulations? How is it that you're going to go and beg for finance team for the budget that you need to be able to do, right? If you're able to give a project that is collaborative in nature and be able to give people an opportunity to touch base on various different verticals within one project itself, you will have tremendous amount of learning there. Much more than any amount that you will learn from a textbook that has been provided or a training session that is just theoretical in nature.
Wow, that's a fantastic answer. To me, like the takeaway is like is more even it's very precise, like practical knowledge coupled with the background only enables the success of any training program. Just sitting in the classroom or in a field having some innovative games and other things doesn't work. No, that's really the point. That might be a stress breaker, might be a session for a day, but eventually when you expose them to the real challenges and you give them the projects, only then the outcome comes. That's a great takeaway from you, Mr. Sam, today. And my final question for the day is like, how can succession planning align with leadership development for long-term growth?
Okay. Let me take this question from a standpoint of a senior leadership role. When you're sitting at a senior leadership position and when you're thinking about every employee and you're thinking about succession planning, we know very categorically succession planning is key and plays a critical role in the success of your organization. If one person in a time period that we're living in today, it's not necessary that everyone is sticking to an organization for 10, 15 years, right? Probably what used to happen 20 years back is not what's happening now. People are jumping every 3 to 5 years, right? Looking for more experience, looking for the next job, looking for the next opportunity, looking for growth. Succession planning will support the organization from a very long-term perspective, because you want to build something that's called a career architecture, right? In every organization, career architecture, very key from a perspective of one, and the most importantly, the individual in itself, right? When you have a particular career architecture plan in place for each individual, and they know that, hey, this is my opportunities, this is where I can do, this is what I can do, they're engaged. They will be able to know exactly, have the clarity that they need and be able to say that in the organization's long goal, this is where I can see myself. If I do this, you have just retained an important person who will stick with you for life. Now, along with the focus on the individual, from an organization's perspective, senior leaders are always looking how to expand either the volume of business or the verticals and services of business that they want to do. Where does that skill set from a leadership alignment or a succession plan alignment, if we're cross-functioning, training them to become cross-functional leaders, where all can that one particular leader fit, just gives us far more options to be able to have when we need to pick and choose from people. That is the go-to state for a successful senior leadership team for their organization, when they are spoiled for choice through the succession plan to be able to pick and choose from their leaders to be able to put it. Now, if you can develop that succession plan into the career architecture in a very clear manner, your employees as well as your leadership and the organization is just going to be set up for complete success as they grow.
Yeah, wonderfully put, Mr. Sam. Like the vision of both when the employee as well as the employer sings together and they have a long road of career path, then both are success in their own ways. That's wonderfully said by you, and it was a great pleasure having you for our week today. And hope our viewers also enjoyed the session. And we also had a thought leader today, and it was really a very short notice. And thanks for accepting our invite and making it a wonderful experience for each and every one of us. So we now have Mr. Nellai, who has now will be the quiz master for today's episode. Based on the discussions, he'll be having one question and the answers can be typed in the chat box. And the winner will be given a book written by Mr. Bhaskar. The title of the book is like Abundant Success. So let's welcome Mr. Nellai Nagam.
Good evening, one and all. Thanks to Bija Running for this opportunity. Dear Sam sir, thank you for your wonderful insights about the developing leadership pipelines. And I love your point that one size fits all approach fails to recognize the employee who having a unique strength and learning style and as well as career aspiration. And I understand that the leadership development must be tailored and to each individual needs to maximize their potential and align with the organization leadership requirements. Thank you, sir. Let's see who is the lucky winner of this week's quiz. And so fastest fingers first. Let's see who writes the correct answer in the chat box. The question will be posted in the chat box. Just a minute. So what is the most critical aspect of the successful leadership pipeline that ensures the long-term sustainability and organizational growth? Yeah, I think the answers are coming up. Just a minute, I'll see that.
I've received one from Mr. Inwin and Sukumar. Yes, it's coming now.
Yeah.
Over to you, Mr. Nella. You have to choose the.
Yeah, yes. The answer is C, and the winner of this week quiz is Edwin Joel. Congratulations, Mr. Joel.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Nellai, for this wonderful quiz, and congratulations, Inwin, for winning the prize as well. We now are open to questions. Like any of the audience would like to interact with our guest of honor today, Mr. Sam, can either put it in the chat box or directly unmute yourself and ask the question to our guest.
If it's all
You can
right,
also raise your hands.
if it's all right, I mean, I'd love to hear from people directly rather than writing the question. It's so much more personal in nature. I just want to say, each one of you who are available to utilize an opportunity like this, it's just a quick 45-minute session. But trust me, this goes a long way. These initiatives are where, you really differentiate yourself between people who are keen to learn and those who are, like I mentioned, just busy in their business as usual kinds. So congratulations, Inwin, but congratulations to all of you for being present in this forum.
Thank you, Sam, for this insight for everyone, because it encourages everyone to participate every week and take so much of takeaways, since it's a CSR activity and it needs lots of work behind the screen, and everyone has put their efforts to make it a grand success. So I request every participant to be present every week to utilize the maximum out of the sessions. We have our first person to ask the question is Mr. Giri. Sir, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question to our panelist leader today.
Thank you, Uma madam. Really awesome, Sam sir. It's a very actually I was thinking about my 5 elements as a habit. At the time, initially I was started my company with water treatment. After COVID, I realized that one of the training I have been attending in 5 AM club is ultimate mastermind. At that time, how to create 5 vertical and 5 elements. Then I started my renewable energy, that green power corporation technology, and third one is knowledge factory for complete awareness and so many training programs. People are telling that no, you are doing multitasking like that. Even though I am also tired, the single man doing all these things, but I never tired attending this training. The 20% of the learning only keeping me, especially this leaders connecting me with so many insights every week. The Wednesday 6:30, the alarm will given by Arul and the team, the backend team. I thanks to this platform. And what about us? I am not any corporate company like that. It's I am the just even though 15 years old company, it has been with only water treatment. Parallelly, I started my renewable energy. And now I am collaborating with all the people. What you told first, with my employees, and then with my family. My wife is also one of the CEO of my company, and then collaborating with the renewable energy. Already they are very another company. They are TK Smart Solar Company, but I have collaborated with them. Knowledge Factory also, I am collaborating with all these people. Even yeah, like that. But what about your advice for my MSMEs? Because since I am in the category of MSME, it's very tough to handle the time. I need some investment at the time. It's very challenge for me. Thank you.
First, thank you so much, Mr. Giri, for taking time to ask this question. Let me first start by telling you that wife is the CEO of every husband. So very well, very smart move to keep her as the CEO over there. Two is one, let me tell you, when you were talking about time and how it works, Mr. Giri, from a standpoint that when you do something that is very burdensome, it's called work. When you do something that you're really passionate about, which is very evident from how you talk about what you've been doing, it's called passion. That's why you are not tired of being able to multitask and to be able to bring on more and more things. From a standpoint of extending from a single focused company, you mentioned it was water management, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. From water
Yes,
management, if you want to look at the other elements and you want to expand, I can't say that it would be advice, but I have seen that in general practice far more often than not. One of the best things that you can definitely do is this is a philosophy that I live by in life. I've actually learned it from, like I mentioned earlier on in the call, this is one of the philosophies that Ratan Tata really, really imbibes, which is that I am but one. I will not be able to know the in and out of every single thing that happens. However, when I take an opportunity to hire people that are smarter than me, I will be able to scale so much more and achieve so much more. When you have the right person in the right place, taking care of other verticals or bringing in other verticals with that expertise and experience, but someone who you trust in that aspect, you will be able to learn so much from just watching how they're handling bringing it on board. That's something that I necessarily, whenever I have to handle multiple verticals at the same time, currently I'm handling both the entire HR team, which includes your L&D, which includes your HRBPs, which includes your recruitment team and facility management. Along with that, I also manage a license engineering operations team. How am I able to do all of that? Most important rule, I have the right people in the right place that can support me in being able to achieve that. When and where I need to provide a philosophical thought process or leadership thought guidance, I'm able to do that. But the technical aspects, I do not need to know everything that is there. I am purely dependent on other people who will be able to support me. I hope that helps.
Awesome, really, sir. I take this key takeaway to hire the smart people that I missed it so many times. I missed, and thank you. The only thing is right now I have the 2-3 things: co-creation, collaboration with ownership, and the second triangle is the employee and the self-employer and employee. And yesterday I learned from people, process with culture. And finally, people with system, planet, second P is planet with the environment, and third is profit is the byproduct. And finally, fourth P is peace of mind. Thank you.
For all of those P's, Mr. Giri, let me tell you, multiple times I have been a part of teams where we have set the people strategy together. I can tell you one of the most important aspect of establishing all of that is culture. When you have the right culture, you will have peace of mind, you'll have people developing the right processes, and you will be having people that are fully engaged in ham. As long as you have that right culture in place, you're good to go.
Great answer.
Yeah, we have extended family WhatsApp group.
Yeah, thank you, Giri.
Wish you all the very best, Mr. Giri.
Yeah, thank you, Giri sir, for this question. So we'll have a quick summary from our summary leader, Mr. Sendal. Over to you, Sendal.
And thank you very much, Sam, for a most resonating session that we had on the leadership traits. Since I have been on a traveling, I could not able to take the full notes, but I will try my best to get the crux out of the learning what I took today. We started saying that leaders are not born. When talent potential is identified in an organization, instead of approaching them in a reactive mode, we should always see them with a proactive mode in developing the employees in a leadership role by rigorous training in the organization, through learnings. So through failures, which helps them to learn, which is the first attempt in learning curve. Second is we touched upon the preparing the mindset of the leaders, which is most important. And third is you gave a punch phrase saying that one size does not all, where we spoke about the cross-functional, correct, cross-functional leadership traits, where we said that a jack of all trade is presently counts than the master of a one trade. So because based on the career background of the employees, his skills, his professional career, the training program should be customized through training need identification. So this is exactly what we mentioned and what you have been doing in your organization from a BU perspective. Third one was making sure that the cross-functional leadership gets shaped in the leadership traits through consistent and rigorous training program. Next, when these leaders should keep their eyes and ears open into the other function and other cross-functional stakeholders to understand what is really required, which helps them to mold and support at the need hour. Next, to identify a collaborative, also to ensure that we identify a collaborative project from by a senior management to give them exposure to these employees who get opportunity to become a spearheaded people managing the multifold experience in a different department, either in HR or in finance or in IT or whatever the way the project keeps navigating them to unleash their potential, which helps them to hone the multifunctional cross-functional leadership traits. Next, in succession planning, you said this is key, where people hops job in every 3 years in a volatile market, where the career architecture plays a very crucial role for individual planning and make them engaged in the organization in a long run. So senior leaders should always look how to expand the organization as well as imbibe these employees as a real asset than seeing them as a resource through picking them and choosing them to grow in a long-term sustainability in the organization, as well as individuals see as a career path to grow in the organization. Where we also spoke about the right culture, which really matters in an organization in bringing the right people who sets the right process to see that the business grows through profit, which ultimately ends with leading a peace of mind in organization. So these are the shortcuts what I could have here this table.
Wow,
Sam.
I don't think I explained it as well as you did, Mr. Sendhil. Was very well
Actually,
summarized. I
Sendhil,
think you're ready to write a book on this by
Actually, I
now.
was traveling actually. Actually, I work for a company named Daimler in Oragadam. Unfortunately, past 6 months, I am facing a severe challenge in this Padapai traffic. So, so still, because normally I reach home by 6:15. So every time in the past 6 months, I reach by only 6:45 or 6:50. But still, Arul told me to take this role. So which I thought I should never give up. As a leader, I should never give up. So I thought that I will take this challenge and try my best. So that's how I could able to be here.
Absolutely.
as,
Well done.
as
Well done.
usual, sir, you rocked it. Mr. Sam, for your kind information, he is the best in summarizing every time. He's an expert in it, and we always rely on him for this particular role because nobody else can do as perfect as Mr. Sendhil. So that's
Thank
his best strength, I can say. So let's quickly get into vote of thanks by Mr. Arul, following by the thanking video by Arul as well. Over to you, Arul.
Oh, hi, Sam sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Arul.
Before
Finally, we
getting,
get to see face to
yes, thank
face.
you, thank you. So happy meeting you now. Before getting into the vote of thanks, a special thanks to Sam sir. Thank you, Sam sir, for taking up this guest on a role in the short notice, and thank you, Uma, for bringing such a beautiful, yet a wonderful guest today for our Leaders Connect episode. Thank you so much, Uma, for that. And a special thanks to my team members, Leaders Connect members, Sendil sir, Giri sir, Nellai sir, Vasanti ma'am, and everyone who have supported for doing this episode today. Thank you so much, everyone. So yes, now it's a vote of thanks session. And before getting into the next week's guest, today Leaders Connect episode, Leaders Connect 360 is a hybrid leadership community. So every week Wednesday we invite a top management leader from different corporate companies to give us a solution for real-time challenging situations, like how we had Mr. Sam sir for the real-time challenging situations, the topic today. So that's how we do. And certainly we invite author every last week of the month to celebrate their book as an author of the month episode. So this October last week, next week is October's last week. We have Rashmi, our own Leaders Connect 360 member. Rashmi Jaswal's her second book was published, and we are going to use this Leaders Connect 360 platform to relaunch her book, her second book in this Leaders Connect episode next week. So looking forward for everyone to join for her relaunch of her second book, Silence. That's the book name actually. Silence is the book name. So looking forward to meet you all on the next week's episode. And again, immense pleasure in thanking Sam sir for today's episode, and Uma, beautiful questions. Thank you so much for the beautiful questions you have put on. And yes, thank you all the members for joining today's episode and celebrating this episode. Thank you so much. Let's all connect in the next week for Author of the Month episode. Sam sir, from your side, any points you want to share, sir, with us? Or what do you feel about our community or episode, sir?
So yeah, Arul, first of all, thank you for
Pleasure, sir.
calling me for this. It's lovely to see leaders from various different aspects of life, various different industries, kind of getting together. Size, you know, is all respective to the amount of dearth of knowledge that you want to be able to pick up, right? And leadership is just it's all about that. And I'm so happy to see a set of individuals that are just very focused on wanting to hear from various people, hopefully from various aspects of life, to be able to bring this on. I congratulate each one of you for being a part of a community like this. Keep going. Please let me know if there's any way that I could be of help, anything that I could answer. I'm always available. Just hit me up on LinkedIn, and yeah, I'd be more than happy to support in any way that I can.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure. This is enough for us, sir. Thank you so much. And people have mentioned Sam's LinkedIn ID profile in our chat box. You can directly connect with Sam sir. If you have any doubts, you can directly connect with Sam sir and you can ask the questions. Thank you, Sam sir, once again for joining today's episode. And thank you all for joining today's episode. Sendil sir, a special thanks to you taking up the role without any permission or something like that. Thank you so much for joining today's episode, taking up the wonderful summary leader role. We call him a super summary leader, sir. We have everyone does the summary in their own way, but Sindhil is an expert actually. Thank you, Sindhil sir. Thank you, Nellai sir.
Arul,
Thank you, Giri sir. Yes, Giri sir.
Arul, you missed me. I can also drop off version.
Sorry, sir. Sorry.
I can also do summary when Sendil sir is not available.
That is what I told Giri
Portion.
sir. Everybody does the summary in their own style, but Sindhil sir is one of the expert in doing summary. Thank you, Giri
No,
sir.
no,
Giri
you
sir
should,
also
you
one of
should
our
tell my
summary leaders,
name.
sir. Obviously.
That's correct.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you once
And
again. I'm
today,
just telling you.
Uma, really you did your moderating very well, and we
Yes.
enjoyed another leader, another
Yes.
speaker parallelly.
True,
Thank
You
you
did a
so
great
much,
job today.
sir,
Yes.
for the kind
Super.
words.
Yes. So now I shall play a wonderful vote of thanks video for everyone. Once again, thank you, Samsar. Thank you so much for joining today's episode. I shall play the vote of thanks video. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, there's a technical challenge. Just a minute. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Samsar. Thank you, Giri sir. Thank you, Uma. Everyone, thank you so much.
Everyone. Have a great
Yes.
week ahead.
We trust in leaders creating more leaders.
More leaders.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Take care. Yes.
Arul, do the action.
Yes. Pleasures. Bye, sir. Bye-bye.